Making innovation for those who are visually impaired more affordable. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from a company called Envision, Envision, based in the Netherlands, is Chief Technology Officer Karthik Kannan. Hi, Karthik.
Hi, Fred. Thanks so much for having me on the show. It's pretty cool to be here.
Terrific. Well, give us some background to start with about Envision and its mission.
Sure. So Envision is a company that builds tools for people with a visual impairment so they can live more independently. And we use artificial intelligence within our products to help visually impaired people read text, recognize faces, recognize objects, even make video calls, and so much more. So the Envision as a company makes two products. One is the Envision glasses. The glasses, let me just quickly show them to you. So the glasses are based on the Google Glass. So we use the Google Glass hardware, and we built our own software entirely from scratch within the glass, using just the glass as a shell, as a hardware. That basically, helps visually impaired people to read text. So they can basically wear these glasses and they can look at any visual information that's around them. Could be, for example, a document. They could hold a document in their hand and they can look at it, and the glasses will automatically go ahead and take a picture and then speak out the information to them using the onboard speaker or the microphone, or even connected to a Bluetooth headphones as well, right? They also use the glasses to recognize faces of their friends and family members. So they go ahead and wear the glasses again. The glasses tell you if there is a friend or a family member that the glasses knows is in front of the camera, gives you instructions on how far they are, how many they are, and speaks out all their names. It also is used to recognize personal belongings. So you could, visually impaired people could teach it like their favorite coffee mug, or, use it to go ahead and recognize they can go ahead and use it to recognize other common objects in their surroundings. And lastly, they can also make video calls directly from the glasses over to a friend or a family member. So if they're stuck at any point in time when the AI is not as much help as it can be, they go ahead and make video calls directly from the glasses to a friend or a family member itself. And of course, Envision also has the Envision app, which does a few things that I just told you about, like for example, being able to read text or being able to recognize objects. But the primary difference between the glasses and the app is one of user experience, where a visually impaired person just doesn't have to hold their phone in their hands and a cane or a guide dog in the other hand and point it around. They can now basically wear the glasses and perform all the visual recognition tasks that Envision is capable of doing completely hands-free, without having to ever take out their phone or without having to point their things, and having that kind of a hands-free experience makes a huge difference to people. So that's basically the two products that Envision makes. Yeah.
Independence. The dictionary defines it as the ability to live your life without being helped or influenced by others.
It could also mean the ability to discover a whole new recipe.
Chicken and pumpkin soup.
Soup ingredients.
It could also mean submitting an assignment just before the deadline.
It could be sharing a laugh with a colleague near the coffee machine.
Looks like Alex from finance.
To step out for some fresh air and roam the streets without any worry.
Looks like a body of water running through a grassy field.
Or just managing to catch that train during rush hour.
1541, Sprinter, Amsterdam Central, via Mariahove.
To be able to sort and read my own letter.
Credit card statement, Post Box 289.
To be able to pop quickly into my favorite local store.
Mango chutney.
It is to know that when I get stuck, I have people to call upon.
Hey, yes, and where are you?
Hey there, there seems to be a roadblock here. Can you help me out?
I can help you out. Do you want to use like a road map or something?
Okay, wait, I'll share my location.
All hands meeting. Tulip 3 meeting room.
Tulip 3.
To be surrounded by great people and be surprised by their love.
Looks like a birthday cake with lit candles.
To cook my favorite meal that my lovely family can't get enough of.
To push my physical limits. To move, to jump, to punch, and to feel alive.
I wish you the happiest year ahead.
To be me. To be Parham Dustar.
To be me, to be Jesse Wienholz.
To be me, to be Joy Barry.
Introducing Envision glasses, the new AI-powered smart glasses by Envision, empowering the blind and visually impaired to be more independent.
How did the company's focus on this come to be? Was it a personal kind of mission at the company, or tell me about how it happened?
Sure. So Envision happened, when it started about 5 years ago. In the very beginning, there was no idea of building something like Envision. I don't have people in my life who are blind or visually impaired, and neither do we, neither my co-founder, right? We don't have people in our circle who are blind or visually impaired. So we were pretty much like most people who don't have people with disability in their circles. We don't often have, or we never grew up with the awareness of visually impaired people or the kind of experiences they go through. That changed in 2016 when I had a chance, along with my co-founder, to go to a blind school in India. And at the blind school, our primary, reason to be there was to go ahead and interact with the kids who were, passing out of high school at that time. So there were kids who were just, in their final, year at high school, and after that they would go out and, start pursuing their own independent careers. They would study further, so on and so forth, just like regular kids. I'd gone to given a talk there about what it is to be like a designer or a developer, right? That's what we were there to talk about. And essentially the talk was all about, talking about a designer or a developer or a researcher at the end of the day is someone who solves problems. That's what we do for a living. I wake up in the morning as a developer and solve problems, or a researcher and look to solve problems. And, I posed a very simple question to the kids after the talk about, what kind of problems would they like to solve when they grow up or when they leave school. And that was basically the opening of the floodgates for us, where, a lot of kids were talking about really simple things like being able to read a book independently, or being able to go out independently, being able to live independently, and that's when we started to see a pattern of independence being this major obstacle in their lives. And at that point in time, I was still doing a lot of work. I was doing a lot of work in the very nascent, space of artificial intelligence. And I could see that a lot of tasks that were previously, in the domain of humans, where humans were really good at, those kind of tasks were being outdone by artificial intelligence, slowly but surely, right? We saw, for example, back in 2016, it was a landmark year for face recognition, for example, where, for the first time, an AI was able to beat humans in terms of being able to recognize a face, right? It was a landmark year for optical character recognition, being able to read text from surfaces. And those kind of advances basically, were starting to get better than humans. And that's what we thought we could take from the artificial intelligence world and then go ahead and apply that for people with the visual impairment. And that's how Envision as a project started. So initially it wasn't supposed to be a company. It was supposed to be a project. It was supposed to be like a sabbatical from my work. And it was supposed to be a master's thesis for my co-founder, who was studying industrial design here in the Netherlands. So we started this as a project, but eventually towards the end of the project, we realized that, in order to be able to bring the mission of Envision to more people, it is something that we should take full time and we should actually go out and do by ourselves. And that's how, Envision as a company started. And here we are 5 years later. Yeah.
Very exciting. And the Google glasses, which many of us thought kind of had disappeared, apparently have not. They're being used in companies like yours. And you're doing some things now to try to make this all more affordable for people. Tell me about that.
Yeah, sure. So since the very beginning of Envision, we've always built our products to be progressively more accessible. I think what our aim was to try and build this technology in a way from the beginning so that eventually far out into the future, it just gets more and more affordable, and let's take the Envision app, for example. When we first started the Envision app, it was just the two of us, and so when we started this as a company, we charged people a subscription fee in order to use the app. So you get a 14-day free trial. And once you finish the 14-day free trial, you pay $5 per month in order to continue to use the app going forward. But even that price was extremely unaffordable for a lot of people, especially in the developing world. And so over the next couple of years, we brought a lot of operational costs associated with the app down to a point where we could offer the subscription fee at $2 per month, right? So that allowed us to go ahead and reach more people while keeping our operational costs low. And another 2 years from then, that is, right now, around, like 3 years from then, we've been able to, bring down the operational costs in such a way that we can, still run the company and still continue to improve the product while giving away the app for free. That's because over the past 5 years, we've been able to innovate a lot on the kind of AI that we use, where a lot of the AI that initially used to be run on high-end servers, on the cloud have now been entirely brought on device. And that allows us to keep the cost really, really low or in nil in some cases. And it's also helped us, that the fact that we now have the glasses as well, which is a great way for us to subsidize the cost of the app itself. And with the glasses, we're also bringing the price of the glasses down by $1,000 again, because of all these software efficiencies that we've been able to achieve over the past 5 years. We have now come to a point where we can make this technology more affordable by giving the app away for free and by slashing the prices of the glasses down by $1,000. So it used to be $3,500 before US dollars, but now it's $2,500 US dollars. And we're also coming out with payment plans very similar to the ones that are offered by a lot of entities in the US, where people would be able to go ahead and purchase these glasses in a 12-month or a 24-month payment plan if they want to. So it's a story of how a little startup like Envision basically has, over the past few years, really innovated on the technology side and brought the costs of running our software down to a point where we can pass that on to customers. And now the Envision app is extremely affordable for people who are, for example, not able to buy the Envision glasses to begin, right? So that is how Envision as a company is becoming more accessible, more affordable for people with visual impairment.
And the app would work by holding your phone up, and this is Android or iOS, to whatever it is you're trying to interpret, whether it's text, a person, an object, and it will tell you, it will speak what it is that you're holding the phone up to image.
Exactly. So what the Envision app does is precisely what you said. So we have different functionalities within the app. So a visually impaired person can just hold the phone, let's say in front of a piece of text, hit a button, and then it just, gets the information and then speaks it out to them. If they're looking to scan a document, we help visually impaired people also scan documents independently. We tell them how to move their phone around so they can go ahead and get a proper picture. And once the document is fully in frame, we capture the image and then, go ahead and process it within the app. So that's what the Envision app does. And it is something that, like we said, right now, it's completely affordable. It's there on both these platforms. And we're going to be bringing it out onto more platforms in the future as well, with bringing it on the web, bringing it on the desktop. Just try to ensure that Envision is there in as many places as possible, where visually impaired people interact with technology.
Tell us your thoughts about the future and what the technology may hold since you're working in this field.
I think there are 3 trends that we see happening in this particular field. One is that a lot of AI that we previously had to run online can be run offline because of the kind of leaps we are seeing in processor technology, over the last 5 to 6 years, right? Even from the time we started Envision back in 2016, 17, right? The capabilities of smartphones, being able to run very complex AI entirely on device has kind of gone up exponentially, and we see that same trend, happening with, in the future as well, right? So we definitely see AI being able to run offline more easily than before. The second trend that is very exciting, and this trend is really important because for a lot of people with the visual impairment, being able to do some stuff like being able to connect to Wi-Fi or being able to connect to hotspot, that still remains a cumbersome process. And in countries, for example, like India or Bangladesh, having access to a decent Wi-Fi network is also becoming more and more, it is difficult. While it is getting better each day, it's still not as good as, say, for example, what we have here in the West, right? So I think that's one big leap that we're seeing. Second big leap is that we're also seeing AI becoming more personal. What I mean by that is, it's going to be easier to personalize AI on the fly than what it was before. So earlier, when I had to build, say, a custom model or a custom AI that's able to recognize, let's say, my coffee mug, right? I would have to feed it tens of thousands of images from all possible angles for it to be able to understand that, okay, this is my coffee mug. But what we're seeing right now is that we're seeing advances in AI that's allowing us to personalize AI, with just very little data. With little to no data, it's becoming more and more possible to personalize AI. And that trend, again, for someone with a visual impairment, that's massive, because again, if the AI is able to quickly understand, say, how a person writes or is able to read, the handwriting of like friends or family members, or is able to recognize more and more, personal belongings in their environment without them having to take a lot of images, which tends to be a big problem. That will again make a huge difference in this particular field, and I think that's what we're seeing as well. And the last, which I strongly believe, and I think is also happening a lot, is we're going to definitely see smart glasses becoming more prevalent. And that, again, will be a huge boon for people with a visual impairment, because if you're a sighted person, you often have very good hand-eye coordination, right? When you look at something, you can go ahead and point at that exactly with your smartphone. If you want to take a picture of a person, if you want to take a picture of an object, you know where to point your smartphone at, you know exactly how to take a picture of something because you have hand-eye coordination and because you're sighted. If you're someone with a visual impairment, having or using computers or computing hands-free is extremely important, because yes, they usually have like a cane or a guide dog in one hand, and if they also have their other hand looking at stuff or pointing at stuff with a smartphone, that's an extremely cumbersome experience. So when we see what we have done with the Envision glasses, when we could see that, even in the early days when the glasses weren't this mature, we could still see people were really excited about using them, simply because it allowed them to do at least some things entirely hands-free versus them having to use their smartphones for being able to do everything, right? So we definitely see, smartphones becoming more mainstream. We hope smart glasses will become more mainstream in the future. So those are some of the things, those are some of the trends that we see in this space.
What are you hearing from some of your users?
I think it's incredibly overwhelming. That's one of the things, one of the reasons why we tend to, why I've been sticking with Envision for so long, is the fact that we hear so many user stories from so many different people across the world, right? It could be something like, using the Envision app to pass an exam. That's something that we hear a lot of students actually talk to us about in the recent past, right? Where especially after COVID, a lot of work has come entirely online, but that doesn't mean that the textbooks, or doesn't mean the books that they read have become accessible. So a lot of people are now able to use the Envision app to study for exams, to pass exams, and it's especially heartening, when we hear about people in India, for example, using the app to study for exams and become like the first graduate in their families to be able to land a job, right? So those are the moments that really, really work for us. In fact, in the Envision within the Envision team, we have like a Slack channel called Happy Users, where we constantly post stories of people who we hear using the Envision app and benefiting in some way or the other. And an internal aim of mine is to ensure that people eventually end up muting the channel because they have so many posts of happy users from across the world, right? So that's the metric that I'm working towards, and everyone in the team is working towards the same as well. But yeah, there's so many stories, and that's what makes working at Envision extremely rewarding.
Well, congratulations on the innovations and on what you're doing. The website is Let's Envision, ENVISION.com. Karthik Kannan, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you so much for having me on, Fred.